Hello, welcome to She Boss Talk. I am your host, Shantae R. Roddy. Today, we're talking about an extremely important topic, radical self-care for the high-performing woman entrepreneur. So if you're a high-performing woman entrepreneur, this is the show for you. Come on in, join us. We are joined by our special guest, and I'll let her introduce herself in just a moment. Her name is Samantha. She is the self-care alchemist. Okay, so as we're getting ready to set up the show, we are broadcasting, okay, on a lot of different platforms. So I just want to make sure we're good to go on Instagram. All right, so I think we're live everywhere. As usual, if you are new, welcome to She Boss Talk. Let us know who you are, where you're hailing from, and what your business is. Also, you can let us know about your healthcare challenges. Any questions you have, do drop them in the comments. I see you all coming on here because we want to make sure you get your questions answered. Okay, that is how important self-care is to us here. It is a very important topic, one that we will be talking about not just one time, but on an ongoing basis because, our health is our wealth, right, Samantha?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Definitely. We need our health.
Yes, welcome. Okay, so as we set this up, let our audience know who you are and what it is that you do.
Excellent. Thank you, Shantae. Thank you for having me on the show today. My name is Samantha Gregory. I am the self-care alchemist, and I help women who are dealing with burnout, overwhelm, overwork, overcommitment to everything. Turn that burnout into bliss because we absolutely need to prioritize our self-care and make sure that we are creating a sustainable life and business so that we're able to have more impact for a longer period of time.
That's awesome. Okay, so we hear a lot about self-care, self-care, self-care. Can you give a definition around it? Like, what is self-care to you?
To me, self-care is about making you the number one priority in your life. And it goes further than just having pampering days, trips, and things like that we use externally to feel good. This is an inside out job. This is taking time to put your health, your wealth, your love, your spiritual life, your relationships on notice that you are first. When you're good, then everyone else is good. When you're working from your overflow, then everyone can experience the same kind of love, help, and support that you want to give them without from giving from a place of depletion. And so that's what self-care is to me.
Awesome. Okay, so why do we have to get radical about it? What is it about this word radical, right? Why do we have to get radical about self-care?
We have to get radical about self-care because if you are just doing it every now and then, if you are not making it a absolute commitment, then you are going to just slack off. We know how we do when we're trying to like even for New Year's resolutions, we say we're going to do a New Year's resolution, have all these things on our list, but we don't really necessarily commit to it. And so for in my mind, radical self-care is this almost extreme that you have to go through to the point of selfishness, because we know that as women, especially Black women in business, we're giving and giving and giving to so many people all of the time, from the time we wake up in the morning to the time we go to bed at night. And then even in the nighttime, we're awake with so many things going on in our head. And so if we don't practice radical self-care, this almost selfish, self-centered space, then we end up in this space of illness. We end up in this space of burnout. Our business doesn't last as long as we want to have as much impact as we want to, because we just don't have the energy. We just don't have the health that we need in order to continue forward in the work that we're called to do on this planet. So radical self-care is important. You have to give yourself the time and space for so that you will have the time and space to give to other people as you're giving from the overflow.
Absolutely. So can we delve in deeper on the word selfish on the
Yes.
topic? selfishness,
Mm-hmm.
because there's such a negative connotations to it,
Yes.
especially when it comes to women
Mm-hmm.
in society, that we cannot be selfish. Like, that is actually a bad thing, right?
Right.
But
Right.
it is a good thing and a needed thing for everyone, but
Mm-hmm.
especially women. So how do we get women to disassociate the from the negativity or the negative of the term selfishness, so
Yes.
that they can accept that it's time to be selfish about self-care?
Yes, I'm very happy to talk about this subject. This is one that I battle with myself as I was getting to this place where radical self care became the kind of milestone in my life. When we grow up in our society, especially as women and Black women in particular, we're told from we're as a child, don't be selfish. You need to share. You need to always be giving. You need to put other people ahead of you. And we have taken that to the extreme where we are all, when we think about being selfish, it's almost like you break out in hives because I'm doing something wrong or I'm doing something that is going to leave someone else out. But the reality is, you're not leaving anyone out when you're being selfish, especially in a healthy way that's going to prolong your life, prolong your business, and make you the healthiest, happiest version of yourself. It's like we always hear, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first in order to rescue other people, if that's what you feel called to do. Because on an airplane, when it's going down, you can't help anyone if you're gasping for oxygen. And
Right.
so that's the same way that we need to think about selfishness. We are putting our own oxygen mask on first so that we can be healthy, happy, and whole.
Absolutely. So what brought you to becoming the self-care alchemist? Can you share a little bit about your story?
Yes, I it was a long road getting here. So I guess about 15 years ago, I was at a point of rock bottom, basically. I was in bankruptcy, I was burned out, I was a single mom, struggling, trying to get to the next level, trying to figure out my life. And that rock bottom space was a catalyst for me because it also threw me into a health crisis, so to the point where I was experiencing premature ovarian failure. I was going into early menopause. I was 32 years old. I was walking around having hot flashes, and my doctor was like, your ovaries are done. They're cooked, basically. And it was because of extreme stress. I was juggling work, parenting. I was juggling dealing with toxic relationships. I was juggling going to school full time and also trying to take care of everyone else in my life except me. And so being in this state of complete and utter burnout to the point where my body was shutting down on me, I said, I cannot continue to do this. I must turn the focus on myself. And so I started creating, I created this first product that helped me with my um, health issues, for burnout and for insomnia, for hot flashes that I was having. And that drove me to think more about what self care means to me. That it couldn't be just massages, mimosas, and getting a mani pedi. It had to be deeper than that. There was something going on inside me, and I had to begin to restructure, deconstruct my belief system about what it means to take care of me and put myself first. So that was the beginning of this journey into becoming a self care alchemist. And as I've gone through the years and I've learned more, I've I've noticed and I've learned that it's an inside out job. It can't come from the outside in. Um, if it does, it takes a really long time. And so from that space, I have learned to transform the burnout into bliss. And I've been sharing my message to anyone who listen, because I know that we have a tendency to run ourselves ragged, run ourselves into the ground. And it's just not a healthy space. And seen friends literally die because they have allowed burnout and doing everything for everyone else instead of themselves take over their life.
Absolutely. And burnout is real. Like before we even came on here, we were talking about like burnout is like one of the top reasons why businesses fail. It's not just financials. Like you can
Right.
be having all the success in the world, money financially, right, in your business, but you are just so burnt out, stressed out,
Mm-hmm.
lack passion, and really start regretting that you're for having a business or being
Right.
an entrepreneur. And really quickly, I just wanted to share my story because I believe it is so important to share your story. And I told you that we had, as I was preparing for this interview, we have similar stories. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, you would say it was kind of my rock bottom was in 2019, and I just had given all that I can give, and I was
Mm-hmm.
burnt out. I tell people I had a breakdown. I mean, I lost almost everything. I actually filed bankruptcy in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
but it really the breakdown happened in 2019. I was given to everybody. I mean, to the point where I was neglecting my business to take care for everybody else. It was just like one thing after the other. My mom
Mm-hmm.
had died, then it's like everything started happening, and Shantae was always the go-to person.
Right. I
Right.
know
So
how that is.
Shantae never had anybody else saying, Shantae, hey, how are you doing? Like I never, no one, everybody thought I was on top. They just make
Mm-hmm.
these assumptions about us women when we're high performing, that they think you have everything going on, that you don't need help. I never said I don't need help, right? So this is just the assumption. Oh, you're great, you're doing good,
Mm-hmm.
you're rich, you're wealthy, you got it all together. And no, I didn't have it all together because I was giving everything. And so I just made up in my mind, I said I can't do this because it took a toll on my health. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why it's so important that we have these conversations and equip other women with these tools, is because I don't want to see other women experiencing health crises like I did before
Mm-hmm.
you just decide that you're going to be selfish about self-care. Like I literally was having major health symptoms. My hair was falling out in chunks. Like I've always had long hair. It was coming out in chunks.
Mm.
I was having skin issues, just skin breakouts. And I was like, where are
Yep.
these breakouts coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Literally, stress will start attacking your body in
Yep.
ways that are really shocking. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, I said, well, it can't be my dog because I have a little dog. Maybe he licked me somewhere, but I'm like, I haven't even held him. It was
Mm.
literally, I was breaking out in hives. I was having anxiety, panic attacks, you name it, it was taking over. And then I just said, enough is enough. I can't continue on this path. And I had to let people around me know. I had to have the difficult conversation. Like, I just cannot do it anymore. And I'm not going to. And
Right.
this day forward, it's about Shantae.
Mm-hmm.
It's about me. I have to follow my purpose. I can't do this and I'm taking care of everybody else.
Yep.
And I had to be that matter of fact about it. We have to be
Mm-hmm.
that matter of fact with people and be willing to have those conversations, and also establishing boundaries and enforcing those boundaries. So let's segue into like talking about boundaries here, because do you agree that setting boundaries for ourselves is a part of that self-care practice that's needed?
Absolutely. I have this phrase, build better boundaries, because if you're not building better boundaries around your life, and not, and the difference between a good boundary and a bad boundary, if you want to call it that, is sometimes we build walls around ourselves and we end up locking ourselves in and keeping everyone else out. But if we create a fence or even just a border line on the ground where we are like, okay, people can cross, the people you decide to cross those boundary lines, or you can just keep people at a certain arm's length. You can tell people, that you're not available. The word no is such a magical word to me, because, and you can say it in so many words: not now, not today, I don't have it on my schedule, I'm not available, um I can recommend someone else. There's so many ways to say no, and to me that's like the most basic, easiest way to set a boundary. But people, again, when you grow up in a situation in families and communities and churches where you're always told you must be always giving, you always give, 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 give. And if you don't, you're selfish and God's not pleased, the pastor's not pleased, your parents aren't pleased. And so it's like you are set up to welcome these, what I call bullies in your life, where that violate your boundaries every single time. And then it even spills over into your relationships, romantic or otherwise, or on the job. It's like you have no clear boundaries with people because you've been told over and over again that saying no is bad and you're being selfish and all that stuff. But it's like, it's time to wipe the slate clean from that ideology and those messages that you got and start over again, to the point that you may have to cut people off. And that's a painful thing to do. No one likes doing that. However, if they are constantly walking over you, then they have to go. But you have to get the courage. You have to get the courage to even set boundaries. And you can start small. You don't have to just go out and do like I did and just kind of cut people off, because that's a little easy for me to do, because my self-care, my health is more important. And when I see people bringing stress into my life, I have to let them go. I got to release them. You just cannot be in my space. And it takes time. It takes courage to be able to do that, but it's so worth it for your peace of mind.
What are some tips that you can offer for those? Because I know a lot of people that have a hard time saying no,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to family and friends.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like really, for a lot of people, if they're not someone that's close to you, people that you really, you don't like love, it doesn't really matter. So for some people it does,
Right.
but it's
Right.
like really hard when you have people you have to say no to that are close family members, right? That you
Mm-hmm.
see on a more regular basis, right? How would you help those people that are struggling with saying no
I
to
think
those people that they love and care for?
I think the first thing you would have to do is admit that you might be a people pleaser and
Mhm.
understand the reason why you have a hard time saying no. It could be that you have in your mind, and it could stem from childhood trauma or whatever, that if you are not agreeable, if you're not always saying yes and giving, that those people won't love you anymore. But then if you think about it, it's like if a person is threatening to not love you anymore because you're not agreeing with them or saying yes, then did they really love you in the first place? So you kind of have to ask yourself those questions. But then, and when you get to the space where you're facing the reality of who these people are, what value they're bringing into your life, then you're able to say, you know, I have to let this task go, this commitment go, and just kind of start dropping them one by one. Fill up your calendar with you time. So if that means that, and this is where I start going into all the things that you do, pamper yourself. Okay, I'm going to spend every Wednesday at 6 p.m. is my reading time. I put that on my calendar and it's booked. And so you start booking yourself on your calendar. So one thing you say is someone asks you to do something. Well, let me look at my calendar. And then you start to see that the calendar is filled up with stuff that you want to do versus being wide open for other people to insert themselves into your life and your calendar and impose on you. So that's one of the main things that I tell people to do, because and that's not, I hate to say a passive aggressive kind of way, but it kind of is until you build up that muscle, because it is a muscle that you have to build in order to be able to start to say, no, that doesn't work for me. No, I'm not available. No, I can't do that anymore. And then pretty soon they will just stop asking. And then you're finally like, phew, finally, I
Mhm.
just didn't want to do that anymore. And then the other thing I do is say, you know what, let me think about it. I mean, you have a right to think about what they're asking, whether you want to say yes or no, or if you're available or not. And I know a lot of people, especially if you're married, they'll say, well, let me ask my spouse. But if you're not married, then it's always, for me, well, let me sleep on it. Let me
Mhm.
think about it and I'll get back to you. And then that gives you the opportunity to really check in with yourself and see, do I really want to do this? Is this really going to help me? Am I overextending myself again? Am I giving from a depleted place? And that overnight reasoning helps you sleep on it, get the rest that you need. And even if a person is pressuring you, then you just simply say, I can't give you an answer right now. And it's so and be okay with that. Because sometimes people want to push and push and push. You say, no, I got to check my calendar and I need to really think about it.
I think these are some great recommendations and great questions to ask oneself in any type of situation, right? Because you want to make sure that when you're making a decision that is coming from a thoughtful place and that you reflected on it so that you're not, just making statements or making decisions without knowing how it's going to impact you. So I think that it should be that way for anything that we're doing, is because every decision you make does have an impact, like on you. And I do want to touch on the calendar, because I think for everyone, I know I use the calendar. It basically, I tell people when they're trying to work with me or do anything, if it's not on my calendar, it didn't happen. Okay.
That's right.
And when you're prioritizing yourself, especially in the beginning, but even ongoing, to make it a practice, to put things on your calendar. So you scheduling yourself in there on the calendar. So I schedule myself in there. I remember when I, maybe about 2 birthdays ago, I went in to do a full spa treatment for my birthday. And it had been years. And I said, I'm making a decision like right now that I will never let it be so many years before I do this. It's going to be a regular, like kind of self-care maintenance.
Yes.
Because that I'm scheduling this. So it could be once a month, once a quarter. You make that decision, right? But I was like, at least once a quarter, I'm gonna be in here in the having some type of spa treatment, some type of a treatment, and I schedule it on my calendar. Another thing that I really love, and I hear people talking about it as well, is nap time. Like midday naps, or midday sleeps or early sleeps, right? The one thing about being an entrepreneur is that we do have a lot of extra flexibility with our time. You can get up early, you can get up late, stay up, or get up late, end things late, or get up early, end things early. You could decide what it is that you're doing. But for me and my self-care, sleep is really important. I think experts will say for everybody, sleep is important, but sleep is what a lot of us as entrepreneurs lack. And we don't understand that the lack of sleep is affecting us in other areas. And would you agree that getting a good night's sleep, or in taking naps also in the daytime, is a good self-care practice?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Because I learned years ago that the hours that you get when you go to bed at night, the hours you get before midnight, like between, let's say 9, 8, 9, 10, and midnight, each hour before midnight counts as 2 hours of sleep. And so you're like doubling your sleep time, your rest time. So your body's able to recover, is able to heal itself properly. And of course, you just feel better because, it's like everybody remembers, a kid when they don't get sleep, they're irritable, they're throwing tantrums, they are just out of sorts. And so it's the same with us, except it manifests in a different way. So yes, absolutely. We need nap time. We need rest time. We need don't do anything time during the day so that we can recover from the stressors of the day, from busyness, from all the things that we find ourselves caught up in as entrepreneurs. And it's absolutely necessary for us.
Absolutely. Someone was just talking the other day and they were saying they're taking a nap and they're finding like it wasn't not that it wasn't helpful, but they felt like they weren't fully rested. And then someone had said that maybe the nap is lasting a little bit too long.
Yeah.
Because a nap is not full sleep. Right. Right. So, and then it was like an aha moment for her, right? There's a difference between taking like a short nap
Right.
and then
And
actually a deeper sleep, right?
right.
I think you need both. You need
Mhm.
both. But even just taking that time out to say, okay, 30 minutes out of this day, I'm not going to focus on work. I'm going to just
Mhm.
rest or read a
Right.
book or listen to some music or whatever.
Mhm.
Also, for me, being intentional about eating regularly. Um,
Right.
and on a schedule, because I don't know about you all, but I know myself and a lot of my peers, you can get so tied up. I'm on the laptop right now, and by the time I look up, I sat down here at 9 a.m. I looked up
Mhm.
and it's like 5 p.m.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, where did the day go? And
Mhm.
I haven't even gotten anything to eat.
Right.
Like I know, like I need to eat. I need to drink my water that's over here. I have my half-gallon water over here, and I need to take my meds and my vitamins. So
Mhm.
that's another thing I put on the schedule, or I set up systems for myself to make sure that I'm getting these things. I'm filling
Right.
up my water bottle, so I have it right here in front of me. Is right here.
Mhm.
So I'm going to keep seeing it, but I love water. It may be different for
Yeah.
somebody that don't love
Yeah.
water. I don't understand that, but I love my water. Okay. But
Yes.
it's harder for me for my meds because I'm not a meds taker. If I don't have to
Mm.
take them and I
Mhm.
get lax, when I got lax, that actually something happened to me. I developed a hypertensive crisis.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that is not something you want because again, stress is a silent killer. Okay.
Yep.
And your blood pressure, before you know, you can have a stroke or anything else. And that was
Mhm.
really scary. That scared me back into like, I have to be intentional about taking my meds and checking my blood pressure. So I went. So when you commit, then when you decide that you're going to committing your mind to self-care, that means that you have made it a top priority in your life
Right.
to take the necessary actions, right?
Mhm.
I think
Absolutely.
that's how you know if you're committed or not. If you made it a priority and you're taking actions on it. So I
Mhm.
said, I need me a blood pressure kit. So I
Yep.
got me a blood pressure kit so I can, on a daily basis, check my blood pressure.
Mhm.
So we
Mhm.
have to be action oriented and hold ourselves accountable to do these things that are going to keep us in a healthy place. And
Absolutely.
again, for me, I don't want you all to be scared into it because now you're dealing with a health crisis,
Mhm.
right? And that was very scary. So I want us to just be doing the things that are necessary to take care of ourselves so that we are healthy. We are in a good place so that we can care for
Mhm.
others, right?
Absolutely.
That's the
Yeah.
most important thing. So these are some really good practices that I think people can take. And so what do you say about, self-care as far as incorporating healthy eating into the practice?
Yes. So I'm a big proponent of healthy eating, clean eating, and making sure that what you're eating is not just healthy but delicious. Is even fun to make if you need to have some type of routine around your meal times. Having it somewhere else, like outside, like have a patio out back. And during the spring and summer, it's amazing to eat outside. I keep snacks at my desk. I love healthy snacks. So I'll do a trail mix. Of course, I have my water. And I make sure that I am trying to be as regular with my eating as I can be. I practice intermittent fasting.
Me
So
too.
so eating in the morning, I may end up doing like a late morning or very early afternoon. And I also try to make sure I'm getting more protein, a little bit of carbs, but protein so that I'm not sluggish for the rest of the day, so that I can be alert and be ready to get what I need and have the energy. And then in the evening, I try to eat before, I try not to eat too late, like before 7 if possible. Sometimes I miss, but I give myself grace. And I think that's another part of self-care is how much grace are you able to give yourself when you are establishing rituals and routines around your self-care. Because sometimes you may not always do the same thing every single day. I'm not one of those people. I get bored. So I'm like, I had to mix it up a little bit. And I do that. I do that with my morning ritual. I have 7 things that I do, and it includes meditation, movement, music, medicine, morning pages, and a couple other things. But I mix it up. I make sure that I'm doing what I need to do in order to at least hit at least two, three, four things. But knowing that this is a great start to my day, and then I eat my breakfast if I want to, and if I don't, I'll just eat some fruit, drink my water, and then I go forward with the day. But I know that I've got a great start, which makes me mentally feel great, emotionally feel great, and physically feel great. And so I feel that I put myself first. And then I'm able to give from a place of joy, overflow, and abundance. And it just feels great for the rest of the day.
That's awesome. One of our viewers is saying she loves nap time. She feels it's so refreshing. But
Mm-hmm.
on the other end, another one of our viewers said, "I can't nap." She's tried it over the years, but she's changed her bedtime to 10 p.m. and she
Mm-hmm.
found that it's helped her get better rest. And
Yes.
like one of the things I do too, which is good, like health wise, like for eating and also sleep, is I try to not eat after 7 or 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
Not close to bedtime, because you'll be amazed at how, especially anything heavy. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
have a light snack, but if you eat something heavy right before you try to go to bed, it's going to affect your sleep.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, it
and
will.
then with sleep too, don't want to forget this, because I have this conversation all the time about the negative impacts of self to help make our lives better and more
Mm.
productive. And they can help us with self-care. They can help us with our eating. They can help us with our
Yes.
sleep. But one thing that I find that a lot of people struggle with is putting these things down and
Right.
not being a slave to this thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is a
Yep.
mobile device. Can you speak on how cell phones and mobile devices can impact our self-care?
Yes. This is one of my favorite topics because when you, it's almost like I don't know if most people have heard of Pavlov's dog. It's like there was an experiment where every time the bell rang, the dog would salivate. And so it's like we've gotten to that point where every time we hear a ding, every time we hear a ping, every time we hear some notification going off, it's like we just salivate and we have to see. It's like a dopamine hit. And there's nothing wrong with the dopamine hit. However, if it's taking over your entire life and you're constantly on your phone, constantly looking to see what's going on, then that's an issue. That's a problem. It affects your mental health. And because you're always looking to see what's happening, what's going on. If you have news, it's always pinging. If you have social media, that's always pinging. And you're getting caught up in all these different dramas because it is drama, real life drama. And so your mental health began to be affected. And then you start comparing yourself. You start wishing that you had this or that. You take time to check in with yourself and really see how you're doing. And so what I've done is I just cut off all pinging noises, any notifications on my phone. I don't want to hear it. Emails, I don't want to know. And that's me taking control of what I decide to view, what I decide to pay attention to, which empowers me to then not have this salivating dopamine addiction with my cell phone. At night, it goes on do not disturb at a certain time automatically. At 9:15, my phone goes to sleep, and it's like if anything happens after that, I'm sorry. I have emergency numbers that can come through, but outside of that, no, ma'am. I am not trying to be caught up in any drama, whether it comes to social media or news or even email. I check it when I'm ready, and I think that that's a great way to empower yourself for self-care, making that decision that I'm not going to have all these notifications going off all the time. It's just ridiculous. So that's
Yeah.
what I had to do.
And we just talked about this, right? Like I said,
Mhm.
every time I'm recording or going live, there's all these dings. Everybody wants to call and ping and do.
Right.
And so using the do not disturb function on your phone
Mhm.
and on your computer and laptop, they both have the function. And you can silence notifications.
Right.
So those are great things for self-care and to help you be more productive. Now,
Yes.
I remember when it was very difficult for me. Like I don't like to I don't want to be responding to emails. Okay.
Mhm.
But you have to do it. But I got other people, I hired people to help me with my emails, because emails were stressing me out. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't, that's not where my zone of genius is. I'd rather hire someone else to focus on emails. But
Mm-hmm.
what I found with the emails, I felt like I had to respond like to every
Right.
single email all throughout the day. You don't. My
Mm-mm.
policy, so we have a policy, right, that we respond within 48 hours. And
Uh-huh.
we try not to go over 24 hours, but
Sure.
this is communicated, everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to feel like it's a hurry for me to be checking it every minute, every hour to see what email and be responding to it.
That
I have
part.
a full 24 hours or 48 hours to respond to the email. And I
Mm-hmm.
say this because I know a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this, right?
Yeah.
That, oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, I have to respond to this email. When you're doing that, you are less productive. And
Mm-hmm.
I found that I was less productive throughout the day. And I'm like, why am I spending my time on these emails? I really
Right.
don't have to. It's not that it's not urgent,
It's
right?
not.
And if it was, it would come through across as urgent. And it is
Mm-hmm.
not. It's something that can wait. So I can determine when I'm going to look at that. And I can dedicate, like say, an hour. I'm going to dedicate this particular hour on this day to check
Mm-hmm.
emails.
Yes.
Anytime outside of that, I'm focused on other things. And so that's why it's important to use your calendar and have a schedule so
Mm-hmm.
that you can be more productive. And for me, being productive is important for my self-care
Sure.
because I can get stressed out quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So, and negative stress impacts my health. So I
Mm-hmm.
have to constantly check myself and my stress levels to try to keep it at a good level. And
Yes.
so I'm always thinking that too with practices and processes and systems as how can I make my life more stress free?
Mm-hmm.
What's my level of stress? So if I know that emails is a stressor for me, I have to say, okay, I need to invest in someone else to manage this that can do that and allow me to focus on other things. And
Right.
so I think that as is helpful for me, maybe that can be helpful for someone else that is dealing with those same issues because I know many are.
Absolutely. One of my favorite features on, 'cause I use Gmail a lot. My favorite feature is the snooze button.
Yes.
So I will snooze until I'm ready to think about it, to go through it or whatever. And that's only if I feel like I want to
Mhm.
to respond to the email. But yeah, that's one of my favorite features. And I just say utilize it because like you said, everything is not urgent. You can get to it when you get to it and it'll be okay. Now, like you said, if there's a deadline, if there's something that's truly urgent, then you can take a look at it. And even then, you don't necessarily want to be reactive. You want to be responsive and in a timely manner so that you get whatever needs to be done.
Absolutely. Now, what are some self-care misconceptions that you found that many high-performing women entrepreneurs have?
I think that many high performing women entrepreneurs have around self care is they think it's only physical, but it's more than that. It is relationship self care, it's financial self care, it's spiritual self care, emotional self care. There's so many facets to self care than just physical. But even though because physically it does manifest a little bit more,
Mhm.
but when you're in relationships with people, you have to practice self care because again, like we talked earlier, sometimes you may find yourself in toxic relationships and in order to get back to yourself because we lose ourselves in relationships, whether it's romantic, whether it's frenemies, because sometimes we have a relationship with friends and it's really a frenemy relationship, and that stresses you out. Relationship with parents, children, sometimes family members, work co-workers, partners, all of those are requires self-care. It requires taking a step back and really deciding who's more important here, me or them. And it's okay if other people look at it as, oh, you're just being selfish, you should be taking care of everybody else, blah, blah, blah. No, mm-mm. If I'm laid up somewhere because I've allowed stress to impact me in this way because of a relationship, well, that relationship has to go or it has to be pull back, and we have this circle of influence that around us, and there's layers of influence. And so the people who are closest to us are the ones who should give us the less stress. It should be of
Yes.
joy to be around those people. But if you have people around you that stress you out and you feel, dragged down, if you feel like you are drained after a conversation with them, that's a person that is stressful. You need to push them a little back out of your zone of relationships, your circle of influence. And then the same thing when it comes to your finances. How are you practicing financial self-care? Is money stressing you out? And if it is, you have to kind of investigate why and start to make new decisions about your finances so that you don't have a stressful relationship with money. And if it stems from money trauma, you want to get some help about that so that you can have a healthy, whole relationship with money.
I like that. It's not just physical. Like
No.
there's all of these different aspects of self-care that
Hmm.
we need to really take a deep dive into, right?
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
that. And
Yeah.
all of them make sense. And I've definitely um, tackled all of the above, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yes.
even the financial, right,
Hmm.
aspects of self-care. I love that.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't want to forget to kind of touch on, because we talked about stresses and burnout. What are some things, some signs that one would look for? Because sometimes people are burnt out and don't know they even burnt out, right? They don't even know. So
Yeah.
what are some signs to look out for to be able to say, hey, look, I think I might be burnt out or I may be
Mhm.
overstressed?
Yeah. So that's a wonderful question. Some of the main signs of burnout that you may not recognize, a big thing is mental fog. If you just can't concentrate, if you sit down to do something and it's like your brain just completely zones out, zaps out, and you just like, what was I doing? And it's a consistent thing. It recurs. It's like, okay. And then you just get up and walk away. You don't really get things done. That's a sign of burnout. Another sign of burnout is you're always catching colds, or you're always physically you have some illness that you can't just kind of get rid of. It may be headaches. It may be, like I said, a cold. It may be some other physical manifestation that's going on with you, even though you're otherwise healthy. But you're finding that you just cannot shake a cold. You always have this nagging headache. There's always a backache. Sometimes a backache can be a sign of burnout. And you have to really decide after you've gone to the doctor and they've ruled out everything, it might be just psychological, and the burnout is really getting to you. Um, you don't want to do anything. At depression, that's a sign of burnout as well. You just don't have the get up and go anymore. They say your get up and go got up and went, and you're just still sitting there like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to be involved. I don't want to talk to anyone. You're burned out. And it just feels like you just can never get a handle on life. And it feels like you're always spinning your wheels, but you're not getting much done. Um, and you may also go into workaholism as well. So that could be the opposite effect. You just always feel like you have to be doing something, you have to be involved in something. You just go, 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 go. And you're just draining yourself. And like you mentioned earlier, you may have panic attacks. You may have other symptoms of stress that you may just seem like, oh, well, you become so used to these symptoms, you just think it's normal, but it's not really normal. And
Right.
oftentimes people don't have never been in a state of calm, peace, joy, and enjoying life because they have just been in this cycle of just always going and spinning their wheels because they feel like that's the only way to feel like they have some value in the world.
That's so good. Like I've experienced a couple of those, like definitely the depression.
Hmm.
I also experienced one that you didn't mention here, which is agitation.
Oh yes, irritability. Yeah.
Irritability, right? That I'm like, okay, I can feel when I'm more irritable, like in how I respond, it affects how, and so I'm because I pay attention to myself,
Mm-hmm.
I can see these things when they're happen, and I don't like to be irritable. And I really am concerned or conscious about how I communicate with people and how my communication with them is received. So
Mm-hmm.
I could tell like when I'm getting like agitated.
Yeah. Snappy, you
Yeah,
feel
more
kind of out of
snappy than
character.
I would usually be, and I have to come back in the pot. And I'm like, okay, Shantae, this is it.
Yeah.
Another one that you mentioned, I think it was the first one, was with like brain fog or just checking
Mm-hmm.
out, like
Yeah.
just not being focused. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like what is going on here? Like I really need to get this together. So once someone, okay, people are listening here and they're probably like, oh my goodness, I think I may be at the point I'm burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
What action should they take? What should they be doing?
Wow. There's several things that you can do. You want to give yourself permission. I think that's the first thing. Give yourself permission to just stop for a minute. Get some rest. Allow yourself to relax. And that feels hard, especially when you're in this kind of go mode. But if you're not in the go mode and you kind of at this brain fog, I don't want to do anything space. Um, you want to just, for me, I took leave. Like I stopped work because I was working in corporate, and even in my business, I just said, you know what, I can't do it anymore. And I gave myself permission to take leave and to do nothing. And that is the hardest thing for high achieving, high performing women in business, or in corporate, wherever you may be right now. But if you can give yourself this time to just stop and reevaluate what your intentions are, what your desires are, and not move away from goals for a minute, because goals will always be there. But if you can set an intention for your self-care, for your health, then I think you start to see that you pay more attention to the foods you're eating. You pay more attention to taking naps or just spending time to rest. For me, and it may seem, when I look back on them, like, well, that was a little extreme. I was just watching, like binge watching shows on TV. That's how I knew I was in burnout, because I didn't want to do anything else. And I gave myself that time to spend. I think I did like a month where all I wanted to do was watch shows, catch up on things. And then if you can take a trip where you have some downtime, it's not for a high activity trip, because sometimes we feel like we have to be doing every little thing on
Right.
a trip. You don't have to, just sit down, enjoy the ambiance for a little bit, and just relax yourself. And then you also sometimes will have to tell people in your life, hey, I'm not available to do anything. And they have to be okay with that, just like you did for yourself. You just have to tell people, I'm just not available. I don't have it to give. I'm not going to be involved. I don't want to be involved in any plans, any programming, any new thing that you have going on. I just can't right now. And I'm just focusing on myself. And being able to say those words, I'm focusing on myself, and I'm giving myself some space and time to recover from what I think is burnout, then I think most people will understand. And for those that don't, well, then you don't really have to deal with them much anymore.
I love that. And I love the part about not having to have high activity every time you take a trip,
Yeah.
because that's one thing I've heard a lot of women talk about, because we go to these different events and different things like that, or you're just taking a vacation, you feel like it has to be full of all of these activities,
Right.
and it really doesn't have to. So I just wanted, since we are talking about that, I just wanted to bring up like this past weekend
Mm-hmm.
had to have been so I'm like on a continuous celebrating my birthday thing, and I took a trip to Detroit, an
Mm-hmm.
overnight trip on the weekend with my youngest brother and his son, which is my nephew.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like we did a whole lot. We went, we had great food, we was in a great hotel, we went and got in a jacuzzi. My nephew had this little thing from the dollar store where he shoots you with the water. He was shooting me,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, I had the most fun that I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
And I think a part of it was having a young person there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we weren't just doing anything over the top. I wasn't focused on work and other people, and he was just shooting me with this thing, and he would got me agitated, but I was like having fun too.
Yeah.
And then he was just belly laugh rolling. Like, when was the
Mm,
last time you like belly laugh
right.
roll? Like literally falling off on the floor. You're laughing so hard and you're crying. Like, I love that. I think we
Mhm.
need more of that. And I think it just brought out like my youthful side. These are things that oftentimes we miss that we need to incorporate into our lives. Like, we just work so much. Like,
Yes.
we need to have some balance and have some playtime.
Mhm.
And that's what it just brought back to me, is like, this is my opportunity just to be free and just have a little bit of fun.
Yes.
That's that one day trip. It wasn't a week. It was just an overnight trip. We came back. We had great conversation.
Mhm.
This have,
Mhm.
for me, it's really helpful to have someone I can have a great conversation with.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
can you tell us how important it is? Because I don't have it. And I know a lot of us that are high achieving. It is not a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, do not have a lot of people they can talk to. Because the
Mhm.
simple fact that a lot of people don't even relate to us as entrepreneurs. They don't get it.
Right. Right.
And a lot of times people
Awesome.
are discouraging in their conversation. Oh, that's what
Mhm.
you thinking. Who you think you are to do this and that?
Mhm.
You can't
Yep.
do that. Like, who
That's
told
right.
you? Like, who do you think you are? And so that's discouraging. That can be
Mhm.
stressful. So
Oh,
who
yeah.
you surround yourself with, who your circle, your a community, your
Mhm.
tribe, and having an outlet of people that you can talk to
Yeah.
is so important. So can you just talk about a little bit before, as we wrap up, about having someone to talk to, whether it's a
Mhm.
circle, whether it's a mentor, counselor, therapist, to talk to when it comes to self-care?
Oh, absolutely. I spend a lot of time like you not having anyone to talk to about my goals, my dreams, my aspirations as an entrepreneur. And I was like deeply like intentional about finding people because I didn't realize how much I needed to connect with someone who understood. And so I got therapy. So I did talk to a therapist about a lot of things that was going on in my life. That was like one of the first things I did. But the other thing I do is I have an accountability group and of like-minded women who understand what we're going through in this up and down of being an entrepreneur. And that has made such a difference in my life to have that sense of belonging, to have that sense that this person really understands what I'm talking about, and to have a like for me it's a sisterhood where these people get it. They are not haters, they are not discouraging, they are people who cheer me on and make me feel like I'm on the right track and I'm not losing my mind because I'm trying to be because I'm ambitious because I want to do this thing in life. So yes, absolutely connecting with people, and you may find them in a networking type of event. I found my accountability group. I think it was during at the tail end of the pandemic, in a course community that I was a part of. And so that's how I found my people. And so I'm just always keeping my eyes open for opportunities to connect with people who I feel are like minded. And you really have to be like minded. And even in business, you may find people who they have different ideology, they may have different concepts. You may have people who are like hustle and grind. We got to be go, 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 go. Well, that's not me. I'm not that. I'm like, look, I've been there, I've done that. That doesn't work. It's stressful. And as part of my self-care, I can't be a part of those type of communities. So I'm very selective about the people that I'm actually connecting with. And I have conversations, I observe, and I check in and I see, is this good for me? Are these people that I really want to connect with? And even with my accountability group, we're like very selective because we're like, we can't have all kind of different energies in that space because it will throw things off and we won't feel like we can truly be authentic in our expression. So definitely find someone that meshes with you.
That is so good. That is so good. And I tell people all the time, because people say, well, I don't have anyone locally. I don't have family. I don't have friends. I'm going to tell you, most of my supporters and champions, accountability partners, mentors, I connected with online.
That part. Yep.
Online.
Mm-hmm.
And so many I've have met over the years due to my traveling, because every time I travel, I always want to meet the people that I have met online that have helped me to get where I am. 10
Mm-hmm.
years of being a full-time business owner is not easy. And
Right.
I cannot do it alone. We cannot do this alone. I think
Right.
it's first recognizing, right,
Mm-hmm.
that we can't do it alone. No successful person, no millionaire, no billionaire has
Mm-hmm.
ever completed their journey
Right.
with just by themselves. Everybody needs somebody. We are
Mm-hmm.
human beings first,
That part.
right? You're a
Mm-hmm.
human. With life be lifing, and on top of that, business be doing what it be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So to get through all of these things that we get through, we need other people, but we need to
Mm-hmm.
surround ourselves with the right people.
The right
The
people.
right people, people that are properly aligned. And I'm telling you, they are out there.
Mm-hmm.
They are out there. We are here. You're
Yes,
part of the community right here with She
exactly.
Boss Talk. There are people that love you and care for you and believe in you. It's a matter of you believing in yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Enough to take care of yourself, to put yourself first, to love yourself. And I see that too much in business, especially with women, that too many women, we're out here, but we don't really believe in ourselves.
Right.
We don't love ourselves. We be beaten up so much. We give to everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't focus on ourselves enough to really love ourselves, be selfish enough to care for ourselves so that we could show up better in the world, right? And
Absolutely.
give and be more impactful in the world. So
Mm-hmm.
you need people, you need to collaborate, be collaborative, right? We have so
Yeah.
many challenges, but we can overcome these challenges if we do it together.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're here. That's why I bring on people like Samantha, this is her zone of genius, and she's been through it. So
Yes.
for a lot of us, it's important to see other people that have been through it, because what do we think when we're going through something? We're the only one that's going through it. We feel so
Mm-hmm.
alone. Well, I'm here to tell you, you're not the only ones. Both of us have been through it, and we have over the years adapted great practices for self-care. And this is
Mm-hmm.
something I'm working on. Don't think I mastered it. Like, I learned a lot today, Samantha. Why everybody, I'm learning a lot because I've had to be intentional with the
Mm-hmm.
conscious decision that I'm putting myself first. And then it's not always easy. It's gotten real easier. But years ago, it was very difficult to say no to people.
You're
You
right.
feel guilty. And
Mm-hmm.
I still feel guilt sometimes. But I care about myself more. I care about my health more. That I'm going to tell you no and just live with
Mm-hmm.
the consequence. And I tell them, right? If you don't want to be my friend, if you don't like me anymore, there's nothing, I don't have control over that, right? I
Right.
can find some new friends, and I
Mm-hmm.
do well by myself, but we all need to be connected to somebody. Get the
Absolutely.
therapy you need to get, seek out the counselor. If you need references, recommendations, we always are here to help. Right? We are always here to help. So Samantha, and we would never come on and bring you this show without bringing you some help and resources. So Samantha, as we close out, can you tell them, share with them about your book and the program that you have, so that women out there, you high performing entrepreneurs, if you need help with putting yourself first, with the self-love and self-care, Samantha can help you. Tell them.
Yes. So I wrote the book, No More Crumbs, How to Stop Dating and Mating for Crumbs and Get the Cake You Deserve in 10 Crucial Steps. And even though this is talking about relationships and dating, it also covers how to recover from toxic relationships and how to start to love yourself, because I think that is the key component of self-love, of self-care, is self-love. And if you don't know how to do that yet, then now is the time to start learning, because it is going to take you much further than any ambition that you have, any aspirations that you have, is self-love. And then the other thing I want to share with you is that I have a support system for you that I give you in order to become a self-care alchemist, because we're all self-care alchemists if we set the intention of becoming that. We can all transform our burnout into bliss. And I take you through the step by step through a 90-minute intensive that you can tap into so that you can start creating your radical self-care plan. You can learn about the blocks that you have that's causing the burnout, and so that you can move into this space of burnout into bliss. And so if you want to tap into that radical self-care 90-minute intensive, then we're going to have the link for you in the description so that you can go and you can click on it and you can schedule your time, your 90 minutes with me, so we can kind of quantum leap you from burnout into bliss.
Awesome. Awesome. And how else can people connect with you?
Sure, you can connect with me at samanthagregory.com. That is like the hub of everything that I do. I also run what's called the Blissful Life on YouTube, so you can look that up. I love sharing videos like this, self-care videos, for not just the physical, but for the emotional, the spiritual, the relationship, all the areas that you need to up your self-care game. We can do that on YouTube. I'm also on Facebook, Samantha Gregory, Instagram, Samantha Gregory, and on TikTok, Miss Samantha Gregory, MS Samantha Gregory. And I'd love to connect with you.
Thank you. And I know they're already saying they want to connect with you. They love the topic. And one of our viewers are saying we don't speak on this topic enough. So just know, audience, this will not be the last time we'll be having this conversation, okay? Because we need more of this. We need to keep it at the top of our priority list. We have another person saying that they needed this. One person saying, oh my goodness, I'm coming on at the last minute. I love it. Know that as we close out this live, you can come back for the replay. Put hashtag replay. Let us know, what key takeaway that you've had from watching. We do ask that you share out this broadcast. Tag a girlfriend. Tag another high-performing woman entrepreneur that you know needs to see this video, that it can help her. This is only going to help us be more successful in life and in business, and be able to take care of our families and all of and our extended families, because that's what we do, right? It's only going to help us put ourselves in a better position to do that if we are focusing on our own self-care. So sharing is caring. Share this out. If you're enjoying our content, I invite you again, show us some love, hit the like button, make a comment so more people see this, and then subscribe. Follow us on where you're viewing this. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. We're also broadcasting to our Facebook family, LinkedIn, Instagram. So show us some love so that we can provide more content like this to our audience. And we thank you so much for tuning in. And if you would like to be a guest, visit us at www.shebosstalk.com. If you're a thought leader, if you're making an impact in the world as a woman entrepreneur, we want to hear from you, and we want to share your gift with our audience. So definitely sign up to become a guest, and we will see you when we're live again next week. Have a wonderful day, and as always, continue to be the boss with amplified impact. See you later.
See you.